So get this right. I was reading about this big tech summit, bunch of huge names there.
Right.
Elon Musk, Nayib Bukele, the Bitcoin guys.
Yeah.
And you'd think Bitcoin would be like the main event.
Right.
Everyone's talking about it, front page news. But it wasn't. Not even close.
Really?
Yeah, barely a side mention. It's like everyone just decided to skip the Bitcoin buffet.
Huh. That's so interesting.
Right. So to unpack this whole silent Bitcoin phenomenon, we've got expert name joining us today. They're like the Sherlock Holmes of finance, always digging deeper, finding those hidden clues.
Oh, you're too kind.
Yeah.
Always happy to put on my detective hat and dig into these trends with you.
So what do you make of this Bitcoin silence at the summit? Is it a whisper or is it a scream?
I think this lack of buzz is actually a really interesting signal. It could be a sign of Bitcoin kind of maturing.
Okay, maturing how?
Well, it's not this brand new thing anymore,
Yeah.
right? It's not this fringe concept that everyone's arguing about. It's becoming more integrated into the system.
Okay, so less talk, more action.
Exactly. Think about it. BlackRock, the biggest asset manager globally, they just filed for a Bitcoin ETF. That's a huge deal.
Right. So it's like Bitcoin graduated. It's not at the kiddie table anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's moved on to bigger and better things. It's less about proving itself and more about strategically fitting into the bigger financial picture.
Right, exactly. Like we don't spend all day debating the value of owning a house, right? It's just understood. So less buzz, more integration. Got it. But let's talk about what's coming up this week. The economic calendar is jam-packed, new home sales data, jobless claims, PCE inflation. It's all dropping.
It's going to be a busy one, that's for sure.
For sure. Give us the rundown. Why do these numbers even matter? Why should our listeners care?
Okay, so these numbers are basically like vital signs for the U.S. economy, right? And a healthy or unhealthy economy can definitely mess with Bitcoin's price. It's all connected.
Okay, connect the dots for me.
All right, so say, for example, new home sales come in strong. That could be a sign of economic growth, right? People feel good, they're investing in homes, things are looking up. That could boost confidence for investors, and that confidence often spills over into riskier assets like, you guessed it, Bitcoin.
Okay, so good news for the economy could be good news for Bitcoin.
Potentially, yeah. But hold on, because it's not always that simple. Let's take PCE inflation. If that comes in higher than expected, well, that could spook investors. Because high inflation usually makes the Fed raise interest rates, and when that happens, suddenly those riskier assets like Bitcoin become a little less appealing.
A little bit of a seesaw effect then.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a balancing act.
And speaking of ups and downs, Bitcoin just had this nice little 20% jump.
It did.
And what's interesting is this kind of lines up with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ Q hitting all-time highs. So does this mean we're in for a crypto bull market? Is it time to break out the party hats?
Hold on. I like your enthusiasm, but the crypto market is a big, complex place. Bitcoin going up is great, but we got to look at the whole picture, right? Ethereum, Solana, they've actually been outperforming Bitcoin lately.
Really?
Yeah, so while Bitcoin is still the big dog, there's a lot happening with these other players, these alternative platforms. It shows that there's this growing interest in what else is out there. We got to pay attention to all of it.
Okay, so a rising tide doesn't always lift all boats the same way, especially in the crypto world.
Exactly.
So we've got all this information. We're looking at Bitcoin's silence. We're watching these economic indicators, and we're trying to make sense of these market movements. It's a lot. What's the key takeaway for our listeners who are maybe on the fence about Bitcoin? Should they buy in, or is it time to bail?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Honestly, it comes down to your own personal risk tolerance. Are you in it for the long haul? Can you handle those short-term swings?
Right.
Because, yeah, Bitcoin can be volatile. But if you believe in its underlying value, the limited supply, the decentralization, its growing adoption, then those ups and downs, they become less important. It's about tuning out the noise and focusing on the long game.
Love that. Separating the signal from the noise. This whole deep dive has been like a masterclass in doing just that.
Glad to hear it.
But to leave everyone with something to chew on, what if the true mark of Bitcoin's success isn't those flashy headlines, but its quiet integration into the very fabric of our financial systems? What if it's becoming this silent force shaping the future of money right under our noses?
Now, that's a thought.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive, but like always, keep those brains buzzing, and we'll catch you next time.